I see a meme go around and it is trying to make a point, so I do not want to negate the point that it's trying to make, but the meme itself is super not making the point well. The meme is, oh, the bank feels that I cannot pay a $1,000 a month mortgage, so instead I pay $2,000 a month in rent. It's something to that effect. It's not always those exact numbers, but it's pretty much that over and over again. And it's trying to make the point of rent is way too expensive, homeownership should be easier. That's absolutely true. 100% agree. What's the issue is that $1,000 a month for a mortgage versus $2,000 a month for rent is not a good example. The reason being is when a bank looks at what you can do, they're looking at LVR. They're looking at basically, can we predict that with a reasonable amount of success, this mortgage will get paid back to us? The mortgage that they're looking to get paid back, it is frustrating that it's so expensive, and it's frustrating that the barriers to entry are hard. But if you can't put 20% down, the bank's scared that you won't be able to pay back the mortgage. If you can't make your $2,000 a month rent payment very easily, they are going to be like, how are you going to pay the $1,000? And the reason that the amount is less for the mortgage than for the rent is not because you're actually going to be paying that much. There's another saying that's also not totally accurate, but tries to make the point. There's a saying that rent is the maximum you're going to pay, and your mortgage is the minimum. Again, not actually in reality fully accurate, but it's trying to make the point of the mortgage is just the baseline. You got to pay for repairs, renovations, maintenance, landscaping, house cleaning, and then on top of that are the really big things like taxes, HOA dues. Like, it gets really big really fast. The amount of money it takes to have a house, it's something that I've heard suggested before, and I fully agree with it. If you're going to have a home, you need to look at how much does that house cost. Let me take 25% of that. That's how much it's going to cost in actuality to continue the upkeep of it. So if you do it even with like tiny houses, I still say the same thing. A tiny house still requires house maintenance, and tiny houses on wheels actually take extra wear and tear. But you know, you've got, say, an upgrade to a tankless water heater. Well, once a year that thing's got to have maintenance on it. You've got a new filtration system, UV light system for filtering your water, whatever it is. Oh, I put charcoal filters in, whatever it is. Those things have to be replaced. Oh, I got an air filtration system for my house. You've got to get air filters changed out every, 3 to 6 months. You have whatever it is going on with your home that has to have maintenance. You gotta get the leaves out of the gutters. You've got to get the grounds, either mow the lawn yourself, plant plants yourself, or else you got to pay someone to do that kind of stuff. There's so much involved with the upkeep of a house, and it's totally worth it if you can afford to do it, because a house has so much security. Your home feels like, I can actually settle in here, my stuff, I can actually make things look how I want, I can put my stuff here, I can express myself here, I have a haven to come home to when I travel or when I go out or even just go to work, and I come home and I have a haven. Having a home is a massive thing. Very massive. It is so good for your soul. If you are going to live in a place for more than 10 years, renting versus home ownership, like, definitely takes the cake if you can afford it. If you look at a mortgage and you say, oh wow, I'm eligible for such and such loan, That's congratulations on one hand, but on the other hand, add another 25% to that for your taxes, for your upkeep, for your maintenance, for your dues, all of that. Okay? Maybe you're getting in a home and it's actually not gonna have HOA dues. More than 80% of the homes sold last year included HOA fees, but maybe you got out of that. Maybe you actually did get a home that did not have HOA fees. Congratulations. That's one less thing. You can drop your percent down. It's not like HOA fees are the whole thing. The biggest things are your upkeep. You might even think, well, I don't need to think about some of this stuff right now. Like, sure, the roof needs to get replaced every like 15 years, but I mean, the roof looks pretty new to me. I got at least 8 years on that thing. But you still need to say, okay, how much do I need to save up per year for when the roof will be needing to be replaced? Because if you don't save up for that each year, you're gonna have to do it all at once, a big lump sum, and you might not have that much available right that moment. You have to save up over time for some of the bigger things that have to be done every once in a while instead of on an annual basis. It's a big deal having a home. Now, that being said, if you have a home, awesome, congratulations. A home is better than renting in so many ways. There are some people who love the convenience of renting or having, say, a condo or something like that. They love their HOA dues, they love their dues because it means convenience. It means access to stuff. It means a certain type of lifestyle. And for the people who love that, awesome, congratulations. There's a lot of options for you. For the people who want to have a home and it not be owned by a corporation, not have to pay rent, not have to be strapped down and held down by a bunch of systems that they don't want to be, it can be frustrating. And unfortunately, there's not as many options. And the options that there are tend to be in states that have lower regulation, but that also means that they might not have as many bigger cities or nicer areas. A lot of it might be rural, and a lot of it might be perhaps even being surrounded by belief systems that aren't necessarily on equal terms with your own belief system. That comes up quite a bit. There's a lot of frustration when it comes to being forced to rent. Having the option to do whichever suits you better would be best, but unfortunately, that's not always the case. The reality is, the bank wants their mortgage back for the cost of the property itself, but they recognize there's a bunch of other costs that are going to go into having that home. And so they basically charge the mortgage and then expect that you better be paying all of those costs and stuff as well. Can you afford to do both? That's what the bank is looking at. So as much as it's frustrating, it's not, oh, you pay $2,000 in rent because you can't pay $1,000 for a house. You're not actually going to be paying $1,000. That's just the mortgage. That being said, if you are a first-time home buyer, never bought one before in your whole life, there are options for you besides just walk into the bank and hope for a mortgage. There are programs, federal programs, that you can get into to get a home, but you have to be a first-time home buyer. The bank might charge like a 6% rate, and you go and get a USDA loan or something like that, or you can get way lower. You can get like a 2%. The rate of interest really makes a massive difference on how much you're going to be spending. Interest is huge. Like, people get so overwhelmed by the lump sum for the house, and they don't think enough about the amount of thousands and thousands of dollars that the interest is going to cost. So if you are a first-time home buyer, please be aware. Just Google first-time home buyer programs. Like, just search it. You have so many options please, if you is your first time getting a home, you've been saving up, you actually do have money toward a down payment, you really feel like you could cover the cost of a home and cover the cost of a mortgage, look into first time home buyer options, because you really have some really good ones.